So I am in the process of figuring out what my future is in the psychedelic space.
You're watching that insight arise.
Fluence is about serious work with people. I knew pretty quickly that there was going to be real thoughtfulness.
It can be a hard process, not something that happens like, oh, you know, you take the psychedelics and snap, you're there.
How do we do this ethically? How do we do this legally? How do we do this with the right intention? I've really found that Fluence delivers all of that.
As a therapist, I have worked in a number of different populations, ultimately in private practice, working with the BIPOC population. And in doing this work, especially recently, I've noticed that I have been receiving a lot of clients that are doing psychedelic journeys on their own, and they are looking for a therapist that can help them with integration.
When someone asks, what are you feeling right now, it then brings you out of that internal kind of process and allows for like more expansion.
I'm here with Fluence because I just wanted to make sure that I had more education, more awareness under my belt to be able to better support them, but also the ability to facilitate and actually sit with individuals on their journey.
The boundary of a quiet space allows me to navigate a conflict, right? We're still connected, but now we are in this boundaried space where there's no us.
Fluence has been amazing. I think the curriculum is so rich. They are doing an amazing job of making sure that we know and understand the practice, the demo, the trauma-informed care.
And I was in my head about showing up as like a hostile Black woman and being blocked off and disconnected. So I was worried about that. And then I recognized that some spaces felt a lot easier than others. Like there were some people that just instantly softened me.
I feel supported with my instructor. I am excited to have an instructor that looks like me, but even outside of her, I feel like I could reach out to anyone in the program and I would get the support that I need.
Are y'all gonna make us cry again? Is that why we're doing this?
I'm gonna say pause. And you all are gonna tell me how to respond.
What would an invitation to go back in look like?
Keys, wallets, shoes, etc. What is it our responsibility to keep them?
Turn the music off. Change the song.
Okay.
Change the song. Don't turn it off. This session
What would
is
help
too
you be-
long.
What would
It's
help
too
you be
long.
comfortable?
I hear a client asking for the autonomy to pick their music selection in a really agitated and unclear way.
Do we need to talk anymore?
It seems like he's really in his head too. What about directing him to his body, what he is experiencing?
Feels really sad that I have all these feelings and there's nowhere to put them.
It's more like on bone, like at the wrist, or like not break the touch, but change the quality of the touch.
So that's where we can start to just say, okay, we can just stay with these feelings.
Good job.
To sit here. I understand how you're feeling, but it's making.
I want to get the fuck out of here now. I want to see my kids. They're always excited to see me when I come home, and they're funny.
Funny, what did they say?
She told the cashier that I fart at home all the time. That's a true story.
There was concern that people who experience increased
This exercise is going to help us connect to how did we get here? Kind of connecting some of the dots from our past.
I think complex trauma is the root of a lot of social ills, and I want to help people move beyond it. I just looked up Fluence. I saw that they were doing the Premise and Promise series, the kind of Psychedelics 101. There's a lot of discussion about cases, a lot of weaving in of here's the practice and the theory and all the literature behind it, and here's how it might actually look in your life or in your office or in your living room. I really struggle with some of these float back exercises. I have such a ridiculous trauma history, and it can be very hard to just sit and face that. My personal survivorship has a lot of roots in acknowledgement and how difficult it is to get to acknowledgement when it's purely cognitive, purely come in and sit down and unload.
One thing I want to emphasize is that this isn't something we're doing alone.
As I get more and more comfortable with these types of exercises, and as I do them with clients, I see such a value in starting to differentiate between the past and how horrible it might have been, and the present and how calm it might be, even with its sadness and yet with its heaviness.
We are fully here to support you in this. We know that this is challenging, and it's not a simple like, here, we're going to give you some facts and ask you to memorize them and take a test.
With psychedelics and with non-ordinary states of consciousness, there's just a lot more spaciousness. And I find for myself personally, but also for my clients, when you create that spaciousness, people will join you there, and then you can do some really interesting work.
Since the goal of science is to be as precise as possible and to control as many variables as possible, researchers have decided to use synthetic psilocybin for a more reliable level of psilocybin in each dose.
The magic carpet discourse offers the idea that you go to some exotic, interesting, magical, special place. The psilocybin is the means of transport.
So this will be what happens in the body to the psilocybin molecule when it enters the body.
And I want to start with a quote by Lisa M. Macias Red Bear. We can't start history of psychedelics in the 1960s in the Americas. That needs to stop. We indigenous people used this medicine before Jesus Christ walked this earth.
And depending on the dose, will be determinant of how big that experience is. But there's a lot that can come up that you might not be able to make sense of in the moment.
So I identify the core of my practice experience as being a therapist who works with people who've experienced trauma. A year or so ago, I hit a point where I was on SSRIs for depression, and they just they stopped helping me. Through conversations with friends and a bit of research, did ketamine infusions. It was amazing. It was amazing, and I got to experience firsthand what I think a lot of psychedelics can do for people, which is give you a sense of yourself before all those walls were built.
We were beginning with learning each other's names, movements, and just beginning to start that connecting process, and now that connecting process has evolved.
Fluence recognizes the value of clinical experience, of clinical training, but does not stop there. They bring in the social justice. They bring in acknowledging the cultures and the indigenous traditions where this medicine comes from. They value traditional training, and they say, but there's so much more. And they blend it.
When I hear the word boundaries, I always replace it with responsibility, the ability to respond.
I'm going to use a word here that I use way too frequently, but I mean the literal definition of the word. It's been awesome. I am filled with awe.
Mostly what you're going to be dealing with is your own ability to stay present when people are quiet and internal. When you're engaged in therapy, there's this connection, like you're there, like when somebody's just quiet and you don't know what's going on, right? For 3 hours, it's a lot. When we talk about internal resourcing, what did you come up with? What do you do when things get too big? What do you do when you go into fear?
In a role as a facilitator, I feel like I could speak to the medicine, almost communicate with it, dialogue with it, and exude belief that this is meant to happen, that they'll come through this, and trust the medicine.
And I think like in the preparation, asking like is there like a totem, something that would make you feel safe and grounded, that you can, if you need to call on it or bring it back to bring you back to the present or groundedness.
Working with someone now who has an intense fear of having a manic episode.
So our scared parts, our terrified parts, our am I doing it right parts, our insecure parts, that oh my God, am I going to get sick parts, right? And so it's not that it's not okay to have them. We all have these sort of pieces that arise, but can we actually invite them to step back?